What's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. My name is Adam Vale. I'm a senior editor over at the Koalition. That's what Koalition.com. I'm joined by editor-in-chief of the Koalition, Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
And Throwdown Show from Twitch, Carlos Romero.
Yo, what's going on?
What's going on, man, is I'm pissed. I'm pissed, people. We just watched this episode, and I am so upset. And we are discussing Fear the Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 7, Anton, a.k.a. one of the worst episodes I've ever seen in my life for Fear. Horrible storytelling. I am so mad. So mad. This is an issue that I have had with Fear. Rich, we've had this issue where they do these time jumps. They don't explain the time jumps, or when they discuss that they're going to have a big battle, they hype up a battle, and then the next episode, battle already happened. Off camera, nothing. Oh, that was so crazy. Oh, we had such a hard time. Well, we didn't see any of it. Show us some little cutscenes. You could film just BS little cutscenes of like people fighting or something. None of that. And here we are again with this damn show. Why do they keep doing this? Especially for people that are like, oh, well, I haven't watched Fear, and I just finished watching Daryl Dixon, and that was great. I love the writing, all that. You know what? I'm gonna tune in for this Fear. This is the last season. Let me see what's going on. Night and day when it comes to the writing. People are going to quickly flip the damn channel because I'm like, this is crap. The storytelling, horrible. I am so mad. I'm so mad, people. If you haven't seen this episode, you can go to AMC Plus and watch it. If not, you can wait till it's on AMC. If you don't believe me, if you think, oh, he's just overreacting, watch this episode. And if you have already, then you know. Leave your comment. You know you're pissed. This doesn't make any damn sense. None of this. We've already heard about it. The rumors, Troy, back in season 5 or so, from when they went to Mexico and they found a bunch of these doomsday preppers and the whole thing, and it was a whole big scandal. It was, oh well, they're bringing him back. He got his head bashed in by Madison with a hammer, but hey, we'll bring him back. We didn't really see him die. Who cares? He was not that big of a deal. This isn't like if we were to bring back the governor from Walking Dead proper or something like that. You know what I mean? This is as if we were to bring back the cannibals leader. Remember? Man, was it Salvation? Was that the Salvation? One of those a lesser boss type. That's what I'm getting at. Oh, I'm so mad. But before I go on any further, Rich, how did you feel about this? Did this make any sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, the episode made sense, I guess, but it definitely was a reminder of why I'm glad this is the final season of Fear the Walking Dead, because the first half of the season was pretty bad also, but this episode was pretty bad. And I will say this, I kind of understand why AMC wants to hurry up and finish this show, because what they have going on with the spinoff shows right now is far more interesting than any of this other stuff they're doing. So I am glad the show is coming to an end. But yes, the same old repeated stuff with Strand over and over again. The same old delaying a fight when clearly you have your guns pointed at the bad guy. This doesn't make any kind of sense to me. So I thought it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, the main issue, one, no mention of a time jump. Okay, so he finds this community of these German tourists staying at this hotel. All right, we don't think now he's fluent in German. I can understand if at some point we knew he was worldly. Remember the character? He was all over the place. He was traveling around. He was a con man. He did all kinds of stuff. Now, once it had mentioned he was fluent in German, I always expected when we were watching it, and you're like, oh, why are they flipping from German to English? And at some point they would say, oh, your German is getting better. And that's why they're talking to him in German, because they're trying to help him build up his German. No, there's no mention of that. You know, all right, so no time jump, no mention of why he's speaking fluent German, all right? And it just doesn't make any sense of the location. Again, this show is horrible with location, especially when we're coming off of what we've seen with Daryl Dixon in France, and they're really pointing out key areas and stuff. Here, we have no idea where they are, but it looks exactly the same as to where they were in the last part of the season. So they're still in that vicinity of Padre. Don't tell me you can't find this damn place because you're still all running around in the same woods. Come on now. This is bonkers. It's like then film it somewhere else. Film it somewhere else. I'm like, man, we've been looking for because that's the same thing. When they come across with Troy, he was like, oh yeah, you're gonna tell us where this place is. Everybody else knows. You could have grabbed any of these other kids that are roaming the woods on that side. They know. Just look at all the boat traffic. There's not a lot of it coming from anywhere else. So it's a good chance if you see it, you know where it's coming from. You know what I mean? It's like when June was sniping all these dudes, these collectors. You didn't see that? You didn't hear that? You know, it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then to throw in and out of nowhere, they still don't even really explain why Madison shows up at this hotel again with no oxygen tank. Why is she leaving Padre knowing she has this breathing issue? She didn't say she got attacked. She didn't say anything about that. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, man, Carlos, are you glad that you didn't watch all these seasons? Does this make you feel better?
Sometimes. I mean, I saw some of the seasons. I guess I missed a lot of the key ones that attribute to this story. I didn't see the Troy stuff, or at least I don't remember the Troy stuff. Yeah, I wasn't too big of a fan of this episode. We talked about the ending of the last portion of Fear, where it's like we were happy Morgan and Mo were leaving because that storyline did not make any sense. It was messy, and it looks like we're heading back into this. This was supposed to be straightforward. It's like, okay, we're getting our final villain, and we're gonna end this whole shebang. But I don't know. It's just tough. You guys talked about this at the beginning of the show. We're now comparing this as a spinoff to Dead City and to Daryl Dixon's show. And both of those shows far beyond surpass the quality of this show. This show sometimes feels like it's a novella. And
it is because it's bringing up all this random stuff that happens off camera, which is just like a novella. Oh, this one did this and this one did that, and it's like an awkward moments. They're bringing all these weird conversations up.
And the whole thing, they didn't set. I feel like they at least should have set up the Victor Strand Antoine thing better. It would have been good if it would have started with a backstory and been like, okay, so this is Victor after he left and encountered this community. It would have been good to see him get, because we barely know what he's been there at least 7 years, right? Is that what we can assume?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same timeline as with Morgan. And let me just say, I agree 1,000% with what you said, Carlos, because at least in the first half of this season, we got an understanding of what Morgan was doing all this time. So yeah, they didn't do none of that with this episode with Strand.
No. And how did he become the leader? That makes no sense. You just show up. Now he said, "Oh, I built this community from scratch," but that contradicts what the tourist said, that they were already in that hotel. Remember when everything went to crap? They stayed there, and that they were just building people. So did you really build a community, or did you show up and say, "Hey, you know what? I'll just take over"? And did you start speaking German to them?
Yeah, and it's the whole thing with we talk about this and Throwdown. Is the whole member berries. It's like, oh, remember this character? Like we're not gonna develop it. We're not gonna explain what's happened. You just have to care about this person right away, and that's sort of the issue with this episode. We get Victor Strand, we get Troy, and both of those characters. It's been years since we've last seen them, and it's like, oh, are we supposed to care about them now? Especially Troy. Like I don't even remember that guy.
Yeah, no, it would have been better if it was the Mexican guy with the long hair. Remember that group? I'm blanking on it, but it was around that time. It was with the dam, and there was all this. There was another group, and they were trying to get what's his name's daughter. involved in their group. Oh man, Daniel's daughter. It was anyway. No one knows what happened to that dude and his crew. They just disappeared. But it would have been better if it was something like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned with the whole thing with the governor. The governor had plenty of seasons to be developed like this. So bringing him back out of thin air would have been a lot better. Obviously, not for the show because the show is different, but for the big bad, at least do that or develop a character. And it feels like they didn't do either.
No. They didn't bother. I mean, the whole time we kept thinking, even earlier, was that Padre was going to be a big deal, right? The boss, whoever is in charge of Padre. Turned out, no, they squashed that with the whole dad thing and his kids and all that. It was horrible. That whole part was horrible. And this is no better because, yes, all this time has passed. Well, now the kid is calling, Klaus is calling Anton, Strand dad and his other dad. But you should be calling that one stepdad. But no, he seems like he has more loyalty toward Anton, the Strand character. I'm like, I don't get that. I don't see how that could have happened so fast, especially since his father is there. I can understand if the father was not there and he pretty much took over, but that upset me. And then the whole reason, go ahead.
And that's the whole thing where we don't know how the relationship is between Anton and I forgot the kid's name.
Klaus,
like Anton and Klaus, like he's calling him dad, but it seems like they've only known each other for like a few years. And it's like, people that have stepdads, like you don't call them dad unless like they really, really, really brought you up as
that's what I'm saying. Really, it doesn't happen like that, especially out of respect for your father who is there. I don't know. Maybe we're looking too much into it, but I mean, even at the beginning, they tried to really show the difference that Strand has evolved into because. First, he's there with the dove. He's all happy. The whole thing, the birds. Oh, a stranger shows up. Not like with the tower where they was like, oh, we're going to put him to work. You have a useful skill. If not, we're just going to, send him off to die or whatever. But no, that's not what happens here. What does he do here? He he brings him in. He shows him around. They have a meal all prepped out. They said, oh, this is homemade. Of course it's homemade. Where else is it going to come from? IHOP? No, it's so silly. And then next, a whole other group shows up and it's like, yeah, we know that you're harboring a woman that we're looking for. And then they give this whole thing. And he's like, what? What do you, it's just that didn't link up. And then with the fact that she showed up and they didn't explain why she was there, how she ended up there, how far she is from Padre, why was she that far from Padre? None of that. It's just like, poof, here she is. She sees him. She calls him by another name. He says, that's not my name. It doesn't make much sense. That's what bothers me. It's not consistent and it doesn't flow. The story doesn't flow, doesn't make sense of why she's out there. Then she gives them a whole song and dance later on saying, oh, well, I'm trying to rebuild. And when she's talking to Strand, I took down some bad people that were running the area, but now I fixed it. And these guys heard it over the radio and they're after me. After you could have stayed on Padre on that island. What do you mean? Like, are you still collecting? Is that why you're off? Why are you off the damn island? Answer that. Not one question.
She even said on, later in the episode, it's like, oh, well, we send out these signals for the parents to come find their kids. And it's like, oh, maybe that's like the only excuse. Like, oh, I'm looking for the parents now. She's collecting parents, ironically enough. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. She's the most susceptible to be out there because she needs her oxygen tank. She can't be out there for it, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, and even the people, it's like all they needed was that radio message, and then the other folks intercepted it and attacked it. And we talked about this at the end of last season. We said, why the hell are they communicating this out? Like, just giving themselves away. I understand the parents need to find their kids, but why the hell is everyone else have to know? We talked about that literally back then.
It's a mess. It's a mess. Go ahead.
And one thing I do want to say though, as far as the comments about Troy, I agree. I don't really care about the character, but what I think they should have done is they should have been building to this for quite some time. You don't wait until the final season to introduce the idea that this guy is still around. Like they could have had shots.
Excuse me, the final second half of the season.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we have to count the I guess that last trailer they showed at the end of the first season where they suggested somebody that was him. That was
Right.
I guess you could say that. But what I'm saying is they could have shown us what was happening with this character from previous seasons. You throw in like maybe a clip at the end of the season showing us this character is still around, but obviously there was a last minute decision to bring this actor back for the final season. I just think they could have did a better job of building to that because it doesn't really carry any weight to me. Obviously, there are people that are fans of the character, so they'll probably be happy, but I felt nothing when I saw him return, so I just don't get it.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And then the whole time, Strand is like, no, I'm not this. I'm not that person. I'm Anton. No one asked for his last name, and his backstory. Well, you're Anton. You're speaking fluent German. So where are you from, really? What part of Germany? Frankfurt? What? Your army brat? What's going? None of that comes up. So then when this group shows up, says, hey, you're harboring. He's getting these flashbacks of showing him throwing people off and all this stuff and casual. And he's like, all right, yeah, we got it. Come take her. And then she leaves with the boy. He let her out. So then they go to escape. There's only 2 rafts. They're near a waterfront. Yeah, guess what's on the other side of that water? Fucking Padres. It gets me so mad because then they get on the boat and then it's like, oh no, they found us. This is the other group, and it's Daniel and friends on a boat, and they're all upset about it, and they're like, oh, what are we gonna do? And Strand goes running off because he doesn't want Daniel to see him because then he'll expose him for being Strand. Frank goes running after him. They go into the woods. All of a sudden, all these walkers show up, and Strand runs off, and as Frank is fighting all of them, he collapses, and it looks like he's about to die, but no. We see that Fran did keep that Anton, that Strand. I'm fumbling with these names. He did keep something from the past, and it was that damn sword that he walked around with. And he's like, all right, this is what I was looking for. But you really didn't use it because then, as you're walking further out, you find another cabin, you find Anton, you find, Klaus, and you find,
Madison.
Madison. Oh, see, I'm blanking. And still, he doesn't want to come clean with this whole thing. Still doesn't want to come clean. She's saying it over again. Even that little heart to heart they tried to give with Frank. It's like, hey, even if you are that person, everyone gets a second chance. And he's like, I am not that person. It's like it's still sticking with the lie. And that's the upsetting part with all this. Because here it is, Frank is giving him an out. He's like, hey, you could just tell me, yes, that was a while ago. You did some things. Probably people can forgive you. That's when they should have showed that flashback of him throwing people off and feeding them to the groups, to walkers. Then no, it was just too much. And then again with the map design of this, because they leave that cabin, they're walking in the woods, and all of a sudden the other dudes show up, right? And then all the walkers show because they're making all this noise, they're fighting in the dark, and then they run off. And where do they run off to? To the damn hotel. How close are you to this hotel? You made it seem like you just did like an hour or 2 walk because it was daylight tonight when they were looking for Madison and Klaus. And all of a sudden now you're right next to the damn hotel. Remember, you were like, no, that's not the hotel. Yeah, it is, because then Klaus gets on the walkie, they're in the hotel. And it was just too much. And then that whole fight, like where it was reminiscent of the hotel scene when they were in Mexico, and it was a hotel and there was a bunch of walkers coming in and they were holding them off. Same type of thing. Bunch of walkers now coming in out of nowhere. Where are all these dead people coming back to become walkers? I don't know, but they're all around the hotel. They're barricading the door. They're like, oh, this is how we die. He comes clean. Strand does to Madison, says the whole thing about, Alicia says that she still loved me and I had to do right by her. I wanted to prove that I could do right by her, which is why I started a new here. That doesn't explain why you were about to give up the mom. That doesn't explain. How are you doing right by her by giving up the mom like that? Come on. That was dumb. That was horrible. And then for Madison, I'm like, well, Klaus seems like a good boy. You did a good job with him. I'm really proud of you. I'm speechless. I want to just rage quit this show already. I want it to end, because if this is where it's going and this is how they're writing this, I'm fed up. This is horrible, because this is not the conversation you have. That none of this makes sense going into where all these walkers are trying to get in. Oh man, did you have an issue with that, or it's just me with that conversation that they're trying to have that damn heart to heart?
Oh no, I definitely had an issue with that and a lot of things in this episode. Mainly just better explanation was needed, better storytelling was needed. But yeah, to me, it's just like I said, and let me just say this, because I know we may get some comments, because there was a comment before saying that sometimes to better understand aspects of the show, you have to go back and watch other, more stuff from the show. I just want to say, if the show is not interesting, in the last couple episodes of this season haven't been interesting, I don't feel the need to go back to see any of that stuff, because we're talking about what's happening right now. They didn't address what happened with Strand in the first half of this season. So this was the episode to address that, and I don't think they did a good job of it, but it is what it is.
Oh man, it is what it is right. Just to see Troy come in, his henchmen come in, they mow down everybody, all the walkers, knock him out, Strand, not kill him, not kill Madison, tie them up, put them in a room. It's nice and clean and quiet. No more walkers, nice, good lighting and everything. Where are you getting this electricity? Where is this happening? It's whatever, So they're there. Then Troy comes in. They do the slow walk, see the boot, and then the slow creep up, and we see him with the glasses. Was that supposed to be the dun dun dun? Oh boy moment? Because if it was, it failed. Because it just didn't do it. He wasn't that compelling at the time. At least in my eyes, I didn't see a big deal with him. And when she took him out with a hammer, it was like this. It was quick, and then they moved on. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like a situation of a bigger boss in other shows. So oh man, I mean, if anything, there's other ways they could have gone. There's other bads that they could have brought in that could have been more after Strand than anything. They could have had what's her name from who's now on what's her from the show The Boys, the one that's on The Boys now. You know what I'm talking about. She was it Jill? Jan? Not Jan. Was it Jan? I think it was Jan. But she was in charge of the group, and she put him. Jenny, there you go. They could have had her, and it was really after Strand. Scrap the whole thing of like going after this one.
Well, they got rid of her. So
that's what I'm saying. But they got rid of her. But there's other ways they could have done it. They could have done something more relevant that makes more sense.
I agree, and I also think the easier way to correct this is you don't kill off Shriek and her brother before you get to the end of the season. That could have been the final boss, because they are fighting to try to get Padre. So it could have been Troy going after Padre and Madison going after Padre, and we find out who eventually gets it at the very end. That would have made more sense. But it is what it is.
And then the cheap shot. And this was, oh man, this really got me mad. This was the worst part of this damn episode. So as we all know, Alicia died. She died, and people are like, oh, she didn't die. She died. She got bit. She died because when she opened up her eyes on the beach, she no longer had those marks on her, and she was talking to her younger self. She died, and she went walking off. And was like, where do you go? You're free now. She said, you can go wherever you want. Do whatever you want. And she was in she no longer had pain and everything. That is it. That was her afterlife. But no. They went off of, because there were so many people like, no, she's still alive. She's alive. And then this happens. He was like, well, I killed your daughter. I killed Alicia. Look, it's in the bag. Look in the bag. And she opens up the bag and she sees the arm. I'm like, well, you could have found that body there on the beach and just taken the arm. He's like, no, I killed her. It's like, no, you didn't, because she was already dying. She was already dying at that point. And then she just collapsed. There's no way that she went wandering all around to another part of Mexico again. And then he said, well, I didn't really kill her, but I got the arm. She's probably still out there wandering. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it? Unless you plan on bringing the actress back, she's doing other things. Maybe you convinced her to come back for one final, but she said she was done. We saw the farewell. She cried with everybody. We've seen it all. It's done. What, you're gonna have a Walker version of her? Do we need to see that? Do we need to see a Walker version of her like we did with Nick? With her with Madison's other son when we saw that? No, it's done. Just let it go. So that really upset me when he was like, oh, well, here's her arm. Because she didn't know anything about it. She was like, what is this? And he was like, oh, this was her arm. And then he was like, oh, she was going to kill him. And then, of course, at this point, this is when, Daniel and it looked like everybody from Padre was there. And they all have guns, and they're just pointing at them. Put the weapons down. And they're just pointing at them. Shoot them. She picks up the weapon. She wants them. They're like, no, you can't. Why can't you? Is there law enforcement in this world? No, there is not. Is there anyone stopping you? Is he holding hostages? No.
I can answer that question. They can't do that because they have 5 more episodes that they need to get through the season first.
If that's the case, don't reveal him. Don't reveal him. Have him on tape. Let's say a tape recorder. And it's like, why are you guys doing this to us? Why are you after us? Why? Because of what you did to him. And press play on the tape. And if you're hearing this, that means you're still alive. And that means I have to get my info. And you know who this voice is? And then they can cut away and show him when he did the recording that is short. But he's not there with guns pointed at his head where they could easily kill him. And he's still acting like he's in control. He's walking around with his pop collar, with his sunglasses indoors, at night. Oh, my Lord, this is as cheesy as it gets. Oh, man, that got me so mad because you just ended. She's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do it right now. Because he even says it. He's like, I'm just going to come after you. I know where this place is. Well, we're expanding and we're going to make this place horrible. Just end it. End it. This was it. This makes no sense. Made no sense. If you have all your weapons, this man just said he's going to come back to kill everyone. He knows the location. He only wants to inflict harm on your community and take over. End him now. There is no reason. I understand if he had hostages or he had some other leverage over them that they can't do it right now. But no. And then you said, well, we don't know how many more people he has. We got to get out of here. Doesn't matter. You clearly rolled deep. There was like 30 heads in that room, compared to Troy's handful. That means just end up, just hose him down, and then you're out. You're out. He just said openly that he was going to harm everyone in the room and beyond. So I'm sure no one would say, hey, you went a little bit too far. Maybe we should have let him go. No. And this was the same issue that we had last season. Same thing when Strand and Alicia and the whole thing, the battle they had, we're going to have a war. All right, then bring it. Bring it. You had all these guns surrounded. You're on a horse. Alicia's just standing there. Shoot her. No war. No one else has to die. You could avoid all. But hey, we didn't get to see that war on camera anyway. So what does it matter? Right? This damn show, man. Damn show. That's it. That's all I had to say. This was a rant, people. There was nothing good about this episode. Nothing good about this.
Yeah, I feel like we've pretty much covered everything that needed to be covered with this episode. I feel like we all were collectively way underwhelmed, and yeah, it's disappointing because I was one of the people that was excited that Mo and Morgan were gonna go to the side, but now it's like this episode made me miss them. So that's how bad this was.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It answered nothing. It answered nothing, and it brought more questions. Like they brought, how far are they? Where are they? Why was she there? What is happening with all these people? Why is Troy chasing them around the globe? No, doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. What about you, Rich? Anything you want to say before we just head out? Because this was horrible. This was horrible.
Oh, no, I agree. Very underwhelming episode. I did laugh through most of it, so I can at least say I got some good laughs in tonight, but no, not a good episode. We'll see what happens in the final couple episodes, but I don't have any high expectations.
Yeah, everything was bad. I mean, even at the end when they're like, oh, well, he takes out the hammer because Troy still had the hammer, and he puts a Strand in a horrible choke. As somebody who did MMA, who did chokes, someone should have been on set, or at least you look up on YouTube on how to properly choke someone just to make it look some. He just had his hand across his chest. He wasn't even pulling back. No, you have to get the neck right on the kink of the joint, like you're choking. It's just, if you watch again, he just has his. It was weak. It was horrible. Horrible placement act. Oh, and then he finally comes clean while he's looking at Klaus and Frank and says, I'm not Anton. I am Victor Strand. And they give their shocks a look. The dude wasn't shocked. He even said he always knew he was hiding something. And even now, this whole thing lies and lies and lies, and then finally comes clean. He could have came clean when the guy, Frank, accepted him and said, hey, listen, even if you are that guy, come on now. It's all right. Everybody forgives. He could have said, you're right. I did some bad things. I'm a changed man. I started a new life. I just want to leave the past in the past. And he didn't do it. He didn't do it. So that now he pulls this and he's like, go ahead, just let me die. Just do it. Whatever. I let everybody die. I could care less. And that's the problem. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I wish there was a reason. Think about it. For anybody who's still watching the show, why do you care? Because, I know why I'm still watching, because I just am a completionist with all these shows. I just want to see how this damn thing ends. We're this close. But at this point, I don't care. Morgan's already gone with Mo. So who else? Who do we care about? What do we care about? Do we care what's going on with Madison and her story? No. At least I don't. I don't care what's going on with Padre. Any of those kids? Don't care about any of them. Daniel, who all of a sudden had the PTSD and all that. That's been wiped away. Let's not talk about that shit anymore. The man can track them in the dark and in daylight in all parts of the world. No problem now. He's not wandering around and accidentally shooting people. Different person. They just scrapped all kinds of things just to try to fit this in some way. And it was just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everybody. I'm sorry for the listeners, the viewers all over the place. I'm sorry about this show. I'm sorry that this has happened to these actors. Not their fault. They're reading the script that's in front of them. So I'm sorry. Yeah, the show deserved better. Everybody deserved better. The actors, the viewers, everyone. It's a damn shame. All right, Rich, anything you want to say before we head out? Because I know Carlos said his piece.
Oh, no. Let's see what happens in the last couple episodes. But that's all I have to say. Thank everybody for their continued support, and let us know your thoughts on what you liked and didn't like about this episode.
Yep. Thanks for supporting us on iTunes and Spotify, and of course on YouTube, for following on all these platforms and sticking with us. And just The Walking Dead. We do like The Walking Dead content, especially the spinoff. Dead City was fun. Daryl Dixon was fun. This, it's like night and day. This just shows how things have really changed, evolved in the storytelling compared to what we're seeing now. Because this is the old way. This is the novella way. This is a way that it just doesn't captivate anymore. It doesn't make sense leaving all these holes and then try to fill it in with poor dialogue that doesn't fit with what's happening at the moment, having these heart-to-heart moments where there's all these walkers and other killers after you and be like, oh yeah, you're doing a good job with your boy. No, not buying it. All right, everybody, thanks again. This wasn't that long because it was a pretty bad episode. All right, well, we'll be back for episode, what was that, 8. It'll be next week. All right, everybody, peace.